Hello guys, and welcome to this new video in the game engine series. Now in the previous video we had some issue with the code that was somehow weird. I didn't know why the code was wasn't working the way it was expected to work. So I kind of figured that out, and I finally came out with something better, and now I really feel comfortable about what we got. For those of you who are watching this video for the first time, so we started a playlist in which we're actually going to build a game engine in C++ using the SDL library, and this is just my, I would say, weekly uploaded video about this. So if you are interested in that, I'll provide the link in the description below for the playlist. You can go and check that out, and you could also learn from that. And if you're also interested in getting the source code of this, I'll provide a link in the description below. And for that, I want to be transparent with you. You have to be a patron. So if you want to kind of support this project and participate somehow, I don't know, then just go and check that out. Now for this video, we're going to be talking about some new stuff that I added. You can see right here on the screen, we have this cloud moving, we have like this moon, we have the night mode, and we have the day mode. And I really like the way it looks. It's really nice, and we're gonna be talking a little bit about this. Now there is a lot we have to talk about in this code, but I'm gonna be step by step trying to kind of give you a feedback so that you guys could have an idea on what I've changed and why I did that. Because if I just give you the source code and you're trying to understand what is going on, it could be difficult for you to get what is going on. Because I also added some stuff, like I didn't want the component that were outside of the screen to be rendered, because those sprite or those images that are outside of our viewport aren't seen by anyone, so there is no meaning, there is no sense of drawing them on the screen. That's the reason why I actually kind of create like a function that will check if the current object is inside of that range, is inside of this viewport right here, then he will be rendered. So now you don't really feel like there is something going on when I try to run, because you can see that this thing is actually it's being rendered when the player is moving, because you feel like it's just coming out, it's just popping out, but there is actually nothing on the side right here drawn on the screen. At least things that are I kind of create like a function that takes the rectangle of the sprite, and I want to check if there is an intersection between the viewport of the camera and that sprite. So if there is if those two guys are collapsing, yeah, I think that's the right word, then that object should be rendered. If not, then we just kind of leave that object out of the scope. That's really important, because since you will have a huge map with a lot of sprites and images and objects, it's really important to always make sure, yeah, this object is inside of my viewport, and this really make the program robust, and yeah, it's a nice thing. Now as you can see, as I said, I can change the night mode. So if I go here and simply change this variable and kind of put day right here, now I still have to recompile before it change, but I'm gonna figure that out so that we don't have to recompile before this happens, because we don't want to be recompiling every time we want to change from day to night. We want it to be automated. And as you can see right now, we have the day mode, and I just change a single variable, and I have a different sky, I have a sun. While those clouds should look different in the night, I know I haven't found some nice sprite right now. So if you have some, you can still share with me. I could kind of put them inside and let you see what it's looking like. So this is an idea. And one other thing I really like about this is the fact that I made it so that when you reshape, everything try to fit the screen. So this could work on all kinds of screen that you could have on a tablet, computer. It's not perfect, but still, you see, everything is just fine, and we can still run, and we can still have our trees. I still have to figure out how these trees have to be put inside of the screen, because I didn't kind of update their position according to the current viewport. So the position of the object should be according to the viewport, not according to, you know, some kind of random values. That's why these guys, you know, staying with the same value even though we've changed the side of the screen. That's a bad thing. That's still something we had to figure out, because it was really important for me to make something that could work in different computers. So you probably have a, because my screen right now is 22-inch, so you probably have something different, and I really wanted that to work on your computer without you having to change some settings. That's why I worked it out so that this could be possible. And yeah, you can see this is the day mode. Now how did I achieve this day mode stuff and day and night stuff? So what I did is, if you remember from the previous video, and again if you haven't watched that, it's still a good idea to go and check that out, because if you want to, you know, kind of get what I'm talking about in this video, it will definitely be important for you to go and check out what I've been talking about. Now in my folder right here, as you can see, I have these two files right here. I have day and night. And if you remember, in the previous video we had this XML file in which we could create our object, and during the compile time or the run time of our program, this will be passed, not the compile time, the run time. So when we start the program, we simply pass this component and use our object factory to create all these objects. That's why we specify the type of that object. Which kind of object is that? S object stands for static objects. Like static objects are like trees, you know, all those things that are, you know, static in the scene, so that doesn't need to be animated or something like that. So cloud, since cloud is moving, since they are moving because of, you know, I don't know, wind and all that kind of stuff, that's why we have a new class created called cloud. But here we only have those two types because, yeah, we're not focused that much on creating, you know, component or things, but we want things to work. That's the target, that's the purpose. So we kind of pass this object and simply use our object factory with this type right here and create all kind of object that we want. Since we created all our classes and, you know, register all those things, that we're able to create object just using those parameters here. And all the parameters you can see right here is nothing than the transform, because the transform need things like the position, the offset, it need the size of how, also the width and the height. We need how the object is going to be rendered. Do we want it to be flipped vertically, horizontally, or whatever? And yeah, we have the scale, we have the scroll ratio. I've been talking about this, and again, if you want to know how this works, you can still go and check that out. And we have the rotation. This is also important when you have some object that have to be rotated anyway. If I want to have like a tree, you know, a falling tree, I can simply go out like, let's try that. Why should we? So falling tree should be something like this with you know, P as angle. So let me kind of start it. This was night. I don't know, was I in night mode? Night, no, I need to put the night. So let me kind of put this. I'm sorry, I'm coming back to what I'm talking about. Just want to show so that you guys can see how this is really effective. This changed the way. Oh, I should put something like this is not the right value of the angle. You see, he's upside down. Which value? 90? I'm not sure about this. Let me try this again. So I just run it. Yeah, you can see this is like a tree that falls, and you can have things like that on your scene, and this is really nice. I really like it. I mean, I didn't have to recompile the code and all that kind of stuff. So that's not what we're talking about. So as I said, we have this file and we use our parser to parse our object. Now what was I talking about? Forgot. Yeah, about the day and night stuff, right? Okay, yeah, I'm sorry guys, I'm just kind of trying to figure it out. There's a lot going on in my head right now, so I'm sorry. So we have these two files, as I said, and we have one for day and one for night. That's the simple idea about this. I could have done it you know, with a different, I know I'm gonna figure out this to make this better, because I don't have to recreate the same object in another folder. What I can do is actually just change the ID of the sky of the sky of this guy right here in the, because it's what I actually did right here. You can see we have night sky and we have moon instead of sun. So I can change this in the game, kind of figure out where I have this the texture ID with sun and change this to moon. And yeah, but for now I just wanted to make something that could work, and that was just my purpose. So this is how I did this. And now I simply have this variable right here called daytime, and daytime actually gives what kind of daytime you want to have, day or night. And to here I just kind of create this. I'm gonna be trying to use this in our menu, so that when I go back to the menu, then I'll be able to change the same daytime, the daytime, and say, for example, it's gonna be night right now, it's gonna be, you know, day and all that kind of stuff. And so I just kind of check which one I want to have, and then I pass that one. I just simply pass the day or the night, and I simply create my component like that. Now there is also something we want to talk about the clouds. You can see they are moving, and that's important. It's a new class that we created, and it's important for us to talk about that. Now I have to go to platform right here, and we have cloud. So cloud is a normal class. It's a normal object, simply inherit from game object. So there is nothing special about that. And I also added this new function right here, because I found out it was really hard for me every time to check the size of the image and give it to the transform while initializing an object. Like for example, let me go to my play. Here by the player, you see I have to give this size. For the player I have to do that because the player texture is a sprite sheet, so we need to know the size of a sprite. That's why I needed to put this. But for all static object or object that actually take the whole size of a texture, I don't have to give that anymore. I can simply put whatever value I want, and the rest will be rendered. The rest will be you know, handled by the constructor clouds. That's why I created in the texture manager this query texture. So this query texture, what it actually does is we simply give the texture of ID of this object, and then he will query the width and the height of that texture and write it inside of our transform. So we want to set the value of our transform to be this. Normally this should be what I actually wanted to do, wasn't this, but it's working. So that's fine. I don't even know why it's working. That's weird. Okay, well, that's perfect if it's working, but I think this should work because this is actually the member of this class. So so you guys don't get confused, this is actually the transform that I had in game object, and since cloud is inheriting from game object, so he's actually going to have that value. Now I want to compile and see if this is working, because I changed the value of this parameter here, not the value. It's working, okay, but I don't want it to be like it was before, so I want to do the same thing for static object. Sorry, we still have things to work out right here, so I'm gonna put it right here and test it again to make sure that nothing is messing up. As I said, something is wrong. What is wrong? Have I forgotten something? TF, yeah. What have I forgotten? Let me go back to the cloud. What is wrong right here? I could simply copy this. I don't know. Go back to this. I don't want to read error message down there. So height. I know. It's working now. Okay, perfect. This is there. Okay. Now I go back to cloud, and yeah, I simply query that texture and get the width and the height. That's, you know, just what I wanted to do. And here we have this kind of counter variable. I use this to count, actually, as the name says. it's self-explanatory. So to count how many times I need to have before moving the cloud. So you can see right here, I have the mean and the max count value. So this is actually like a speed that we use to move our clouds. So, and since I have the delta time to update this object, all I do is I simply decrement my counter till it reach 0. So when we reach 0, then we simply move our cloud 1 pixel backward. And now we also want to make sure our cloud is still inside of our viewport. If it gets outside of the viewport, we want to put it back on the side right here so that it can start moving again. So that's why we always have clouds. So let's kind of go ahead and put 0 and 1 right here so that you guys can see. I want it to be fast. Hope it's gonna be fast. So you see, I will always have clouds moving in the sky. So no matter what happens, I'll always have. So this is gonna go away, but he will come back here again, and over and over. This will happen over and over because we always want to have, you know, things moving on here. And yeah, I have to put at least 2 of them so that when one is far away, then the other one just starts. And we don't want it to move all and then the other one starts. So that's not a good idea. But I want it to go. So you see, it just come back. And that's something that I really like because we always want to have, you know, clouds in the sky. That's important. So I think the max value was 30 and this one was 10. I hope so. And yeah, put 40 just like that. And we just make sure if it is inside and we send it back to the width of the viewport. So that's why we get the viewport of the screen. So our engine, in our engine class, we created a new variable called viewport, screen viewport. The screen viewport is just like, you know, the size of this screen right here. And this is always, you know, this depends on the size of the screen. And it's also important because if you see, I initialize this. So if I go to my engine.cpp, my engine.cpp right here, I initialize this with these values right here. But if you check here, you will see that those values are actually this one right here. But when I resize, it still happens to work normally. It's because I have an event handler which checks if the Windows size was changed, then I update that viewport. So if I go in my input right here, input, so input, you can see right here I have my input. So we check the event, the Windows resize, we get the value of the new size, and we create like a viewport for the Windows and the camera. We also want the camera to always have the size of this screen right here. That could be changed, but we decided to use it like this. Well, I didn't know this video was actually going to be getting so long, and I don't want to, you know, stay here talking too much. I'm going to be uploading another video to talk about more stuff, because I still have a lot to talk about the fact that I try to put the object so that they don't, you know, about the fact that I'm only rendering things that are inside of the viewport. I haven't talked about that, and I think I'm going to be doing that in the next video. So thank you guys for watching videos on Metico channel, and again, you can still go out and, you know, subscribe if you haven't, and support me on Patreon. You will also get access to the source code of this. I'll provide the link in the description below. And if you have any question, any concern, if there is anything that you want to know specifically how I did, because sometimes I don't exactly know what you're looking for, and sometimes you have some specific question about things that you want to know, and I could probably help in that. So you can still contact me, write a comment below, and yeah. So see you in the next video. Ciao.